Hello, everyone. I'm Dijon,
I'm Amir.
and welcome to the Mustacast, the podcast about the art of storytelling and how to use across different mediums. Make sure that you like, comment, and subscribe if you want to see our channel grow, and click the notification bell so that you're notified when we post. Now, as usual, we'll start with media we're consuming. You can start off, Amir. You're above me now, so.
I'm above you now. Okay. So I'm not just on like the wrong side of the screen anymore. I'm still on the wrong side of the screen. I'm just different oriented. Okay, this is gonna be interesting. I'm interested to see how this works. Media I've been consuming. That's a good question. I got back into audiobooks again. I kind of just stopped for a minute, not because of like the book I was listening to was like uninteresting or anything. I don't know, there's just a lot going on in my life at that point. So currently I am back to listening to Red Seas Under Red Skies, which is the Lies of Locke sequel. I like it. I don't like it as much as the second book, but those books are also incredibly long. Like the first book was 24 hours in length, and this book is 25 hours in length, and I'm like only like 13 hours in. So maybe it's gonna get better because there's still a large chunk of book left to go. Also have started reading the Dark Tower series by Stephen King because I heard what the ending was, and the ending sounds very, very interesting. So I'm like, I should probably check the series out because it seems like it'll be interesting. Not a real big fan of it so far. So far, it's just kind of incredibly boring.
I've heard this.
If there's any Dark Tower fans watching this, I'm sorry.
I heard the same thing about the movie. It's also
the movie was nothing like the book from like because I saw the movie. The movie's nothing like the book so far. But so far, I'm like 2.5 hours into the audiobook, and all he's been doing is talking to this one guy, like literally just talking to this one dude in the middle of the desert for an entire like hour and a half. And
there's actually not the latest, the episode before the last episode of Euphoria, the HBO show with Zendaya. That episode was like hour long. I think each episode was like hour long, and the whole episode was literally her talking to her sponsor in a diner for the entire time. It was very interesting. They managed to make it very engaging, but it was the same thing. It was literally her just talking to this one person for an hour, but it was actually really engaging. It doesn't sound like they made it very engaging in the book you're reading, though.
They didn't.
I need to watch that next episode of Euphoria. I've been putting it off for a while, and my HBO Max subscription might be up because I canceled it because I have nothing to watch with it anymore. Actually, I do, but we'll get to that later.
Speaking of HBO Max, I've been watching the 2004 The Batman show. That is like, I never like got past like the first episode from catching.
Is that the one with Kevin Michael Richardson as the Joker?
I don't know who any of these voice actors are, so maybe.
The one where Joker looks like he has dreads.
Yes, that is that one.
Yeah, that's the one. Michael Richardson is a surprisingly good Joker. He also voices the Mahler twins in
I did know that. Yeah, I did know that one.
He voices a lot of characters. Like his voice is very distinctive. If you hear his voice in anything else, you'll recognize it. Like his voice is in everything, but I feel like a lot of people don't know his name. He also has a very kind of basic name. He like all three of his like his first, middle, and last name are very just basic names. His name is
I was gonna say I know like 7 different people with names. Yeah. That's really good. It has maybe my second favorite adaptation of the Penguin outside of the comics, right behind the Arkham games. And not because like the Penguin in this is very menacing. Like he's super menacing in the Arkham games. He's not like borderline kind of like creepy in the Arkham games. He's not at all here. He's just kind of like his voice is very like wah! And he has like this weird like it's very like Waluigi, and he is like a serious yeah, it's like he says it like every other sentence. It's hilarious. And he has like a really weird rivalry with Alfred because apparently the Cobblepots or the Pennyworths used to serve the Cobblepots, but the Cobblepots are like horrible people to serve under. And so he's like this really like blatant, he just hates Alfred with everything. He hates Alfred more than he hates Bruce or Batman. And he also calls Alfred Jeeves every 5 seconds, and it's the funniest thing. I love that adaptation of the Penguin. And there's like a lot of there's a lot of like puns that shouldn't work
from the Penguin.
not just from the Penguin, but from like everybody, including Batman. But like there's this one, it was Mr. Freeze's first episode, and he just like he'd stolen a bunch of diamonds on this yacht, and he was like walking away, and the police showed up, and what did he say? He was like, have an ice evening or something like that, and just like skated away on the water, and I actually started laughing, like
It's
dying.
like what's his name? In the Batman and Robin.
Yeah, it was
On a Switch.
if it was just Mr. Freeze by my mom's leaving, sorry. If it was just Mr. Freeze that had like the puns and stuff, I would think it was supposed to be like an Arnold Schwarzenegger type thing. But it's not just him, because everybody has like everybody's giving off those type of puns, including Batman, and it's just hilarious. And it shouldn't work. Like it really sounds like it should not work at all, but it works really, really, really well. It's also my favorite adaptation of Alfred outside of the comics, like ever.
It's always funny to me when Batman is being played seriously, but he still makes puns and jokes. Like Batman, Batman the Brave and the Bold is a great show. I really like Batman Brave and the Bold.
I'm gonna watch that after I finish the 2004 The Batman. Like I'm like planning to watch that next.
It's a very goofy Batman show.
I don't want to spend too much time talking about it, but there's just so much I love about the Batman. Batman in costume moves like a horror creature, like he moves like an actual like horror monster. I'm like, that's cool. Like Batman should move like a horror monster. I love it. They also, I'm a big Clayface fan, like the Clayface origin from the comics and everything, but in this they make him a former cop who's Bruce's childhood best friend, and Bruce, because of an altercation with the Joker, he wants to turn into Clayface, and like this tragic story. And I'm really sad because they don't go anywhere with it, but they should, because it's a really, really, really good plot line, but they don't go anywhere.
I've said it before, two of my favorite episodes in the animated series are the Two-Face. Two-Face episodes are two of my favorite episodes. But I mean, the Clayface episodes are two of my favorite episodes in that series. I think the first Two-Face episode might be my favorite in the animated series. But yeah.
Yeah. Also, I texted you about this yesterday, and we were laughing about it because Robin's neck was.
I realized that I forgot to start the timer.
We were laughing at it because I took a video of it, and Robin's neck was ridiculously long. But the old Teen Titans show, which I'd never seen, like, I don't think I've ever seen like a whole episode in its entirety, because I would just like catch clips of it when I was like 8. And it never really interested me that much, because I mean, like, it wasn't really all too accurate to like the Teen Titans comics. And like, I'm not even a big Teen Titans comics fan. Like, I'm a fan of like the Bat family, and they're the only reasons I would read Teen Titans comics, and I like the Flash characters. But that's really about it. And they don't really have a Flash character in the old Teen Titans, except for in like the very last episode when Wally shows up.
Yeah, but Wally shows up eventually.
Yeah, he shows up, but it was like once, and it's in like the series finale, and I'm like, I'm not gonna watch this. But I was like, you know what? I'm bored, and I just got my vaccine. I was like, I'm tired. You know, it's a good day to just watch. HBO. And so I was sitting there. I'm like, you know, I'm gonna watch this Teen Titans show. I could not get past episode 4. I don't know why you guys hyped this show up so much. This is one of the worst cartoons I've seen in a long time. Like, the humor falls flat. Even for 2004 humor, the humor just falls flat. It tries too hard to be an anime, but also doesn't want to be an anime, and like everything is like anime centric. And
it's in an anime art style, but the animation itself and even the storytelling isn't anime at all. Like, that's why like we had the episode where we talked about manga with Eric, and I said, like, just because something has an anime art style doesn't make it an anime, because there's a certain way that Japanese people tell stories, and the way that they animate that just isn't easily recreated by somebody who hasn't experienced their culture for majority of their life.
Yeah, and it tries. I can say this, it tries. It doesn't work, but it tries. It feels very, if you've ever seen the movie City Hunter, the Jackie Chan movie?
No.
Okay, you should totally watch the Jackie Chan. It's a bad movie, but it's really, really funny. Unlike the 2014 Titans movie. But it tries, the City Hunter is a live action Jackie Chan movie that feels like a live action anime. Like if they made an anime live action, this is what it would be. And this feels very City Hunter, but does not have the entertainment value of City Hunter. I don't like it at all.
Yeah, when we talked about it, I said like it was good for what it was at the time, but when you're older and you're watching it, you're like, this isn't as good as I remember it being.
It's not even as good as I remember. It's just it's not good. Like it's just not, it's not good. Like I told you this, and this is gonna come as like a surprise. I can unironically enjoy Teen Titans Go more than I can enjoy.
It's not a bad show. People just keep comparing it to the first show, which, like you said, isn't that good to begin with.
It's not. Yeah, it's not that good to begin with. So it's like
Teen Titans Go is meant for a completely different generation of kids. Like the stuff my little brother, who's 12 years younger than me, likes to watch isn't the stuff that I necessarily like to watch when I was a kid. But if I was his age, around this time, I would like it. Like that's just the type of cartoons that these kids today are into. And just because we're like, it's making millennials and Gen Z, older Gen Z, sound like old people because we're talking about because we're talking about how the stuff that we watched was better and the stuff that they're watching is trash. And it's like, bro, it's because it's not for you anymore. Yeah. You're a grown man or woman now, or whatever you identify as now. It's not for you anymore. There's other cartoons that you can watch, or you can watch old ones because streaming services exist now, and you can find them almost anywhere.
Yeah, it's just Teen Titans. I think I like Teen Titans Go because Teen Titans Go doesn't take itself seriously at all. It doesn't try to be anything.
It's legitimately funny.
There is like from the Teen Titans Go to the movies where they push Batman's parents into the alleyway and they make him watch them get shot.
It could be so dark sometimes. Also, it was great that they bring back Slade for the movie because he just hadn't really been in the show.
Yeah.
But yeah, that movie's pretty funny. It was the upbeat inspirational song. I listen to that every now and again. It's actually a good song.
There's just a lot about it that was like,
it's a funny show.
It just works more. And finally, just because I don't want to take up a lot of your time, Knockout City, I forgot. I just downloaded the trial for that. That's pretty fun. Like, I'm actually pretty good at it.
I don't know, man, because because I didn't start timing, I'm trying to figure out how much time should I subtract, and I'm like, the time's off by at least 7 minutes now. So I'm like, at this point, we're probably gonna go at the very least 10 minutes over than I would like us to.
I think 10 minutes over isn't that far. Like,
I mean, it is when you're at it.
That's true. That is true.
As much as
finally,
I was just saying, as much as I would like to skip through stuff, I have to listen to every single second while I'm editing. Otherwise, I'm gonna mess up the edit, and it's annoying, but it has to be done.
That is true.
The day we get to the point to where I could hire someone else to edit will be glorious.
Wait. I started Jujutsu Kaisen yesterday. I don't like it. I would say that I don't.
I keep watching it, bro. It's great. How many episodes have you watched to say that?
I think I just finished episode 4.
What? 4 episodes in and you don't like it?
I genuinely okay. So I feel like I should have been taking notes while I watched. It feels, and I feel like I'm calling back to when I was talking about Teen Titans here, but this time it's different because it's actual anime. It feels very stereotypically anime, but not in a good way. Like,
that's the point. It's meant to be. It's written by a young dude, like in his early 30s or something like that, who grew up.
I can tell he's young.
Who grew up watching Naruto and Bleach and One Piece and Dragon Ball and all of the anime that people our age grew up watching, and he's essentially taking. I say all the time. It feels like Bleach and Naruto. It feels like more Bleach than Naruto though. And essentially,
to me, it doesn't feel so much like
it takes those the stereotypical anime, but modernizes it.
It doesn't feel so much like Naruto to me as much as it does a mix of Bleach and Death Note. It feels very Death Note to me in a lot of ways. I don't know. It's just like a lot of the humor there doesn't really land. The main character, the kid with the pink hair, feels very stereotypical like shonen protagonist, but like nothing that makes him like special like Naruto or Goku or anybody.
I mean,
it feels very
I'll tell you
rushed in a
this.
lot of ways.
He's more interesting than Ichigo. Granted, that's a low
He
bar.
is more interesting than Ichigo.
Granted, that's a
That's the
really
thing.
low
I can
bar.
relate to Ichigo a lot more though, because Ichigo, especially in the beginning, was very like bored with life. This kid's not bored with life. He's just like he just kind of drifts. Like he doesn't know.
No, that's the thing though. Ichigo is literally just that. Ichigo doesn't, because we're about to go on a tangent about Bleach, but Bleach is literally my favorite.
I haven't finished Bleach. I'm not even that far into Bleach. I'm like in the first Soul Society.
I'm not about to spoil anything, but it's my favorite anime. But Ichigo is the most boring like anime protagonist ever, because the thing he doesn't have that Luffy has, that Naruto has, that Goku has is he doesn't have a goal. He doesn't have anything he wants to do in life, and that isn't even played with. He just doesn't have anything he wants to do. So he always is just reacting to random things that happen. Nothing ever happens because he's going after something. And because of that,
I'm not gonna lie,
Paul is really flat as a character. Yeah, you say that having not finished it. Because
that is true. Something like that. In like the nearing the end of the Soul Society arc where like and I think they just outed Aizen. It's been like a year since I stopped.
That's the thing. You're literally in the end of the best arc of the entire show. So of course you're thinking that. After that, it all goes downhill. And
this is like episode like 34. This is the best that the show has to offer.
This is the best that the show has to offer. I promise you.
Now you're just making me not want to finish. You're making me not want to finish. This is like 34 episodes in. There's like 160 something episodes. The best it has.
The Soul Society arc is literally the reason it's my favorite anime. But, and I've talked to you about this before, I have two different lists for everything. It's the list that is driven by pure emotion, mostly, and the other one that's a little bit more logical, but of course it's still biased because it's hard not to be. But it's still a little bit more logical than the others. Bleach is number one in the emotional one. And the logical one, he's closer to like 10. Bleach is closer to 10. And Cowboy Bebop's number one easily. But yeah, let's not go too far on that Bleach tangent because, you know, you're not far into it. And the Jujutsu Kaisen, I understand why you don't like it, because I advise, because it's only one season so far, at least finish the season.
I plan to finish the season because I've been looking for, you know, I'm not a huge anime fan. Like I have like my anime that I like, but I'm not a huge fan of most anime, mainly because a lot of them feel like this in a lot of ways. But I've been looking for a new anime to just like kind of sit there and like coast through. And like the opening is very like, the opening has me intrigued and has me wanting to watch more just so I can get introduced to more characters. And there's like a giant panda in the opening that like just runs around. And I like weird, funny, ridiculously stupid characters. So if there's a giant panda, I'm all in for it. Like I don't care how bad this gets. I'm watching this giant panda.
Yeah, the further you get into it, you'll probably like it more because the main character definitely is a very basic character, but it's the characters around them that really make the show.
Okay.
That goes for most anime, honestly, because the main character tends to not be the most interesting character.
Yeah, Naruto is like my third favorite anime, and he's not.
Yeah,
I don't think he's in like my.
I always say that. I'm like, I love Naruto.
Like,
I love Naruto, but not really because of Naruto.
Yeah, I love Naruto for the Sasuke, Shikamaru, Kakashi, my three favorite characters. Like those are the three most interesting ones to me in the show. Naruto's just like not in the top 10.
Like part way through Naruto Shippuden, it just becomes Sasuke Shippuden, and they purely on Sasuke for a good like 30 something episodes. Like they just focus on episodes for focus on Sasuke for dozens of episodes. But anyway, again, tangent. The Tangent Kings. Media I've been consuming. Speaking of anime, Fruits Basket. I love Fruits Basket. Fruits Basket is really good. One night, I don't know what happened. I was just really in a mood to watch Fruits Basket and just ran through the first season because I was like halfway through it. It was like 20 something episodes. And now I'm on the second season, halfway through that because like I said, was just running through it and eventually was like, okay, let me take a break before I burn myself out of Fruits Basket. I said it before how I heard someone say that the show gets into some very dark, emotional like abuse type situations in the story, and it surprised me when I heard that. I was like, wow, like when you watch the show you wouldn't expect it to go there, and then I got there and I was like, oh, this was unexpected. But yeah, it goes there. You don't expect it to, but it does. It looks like a really light and fluffy and happy anime kind of slice of life, but it goes into some really
Automatically the first thing I'm thinking of is like the first like 30 seconds of Buko no Pico, and then like the rest of the show.
Yeah, it goes
That's automatically what I'm thinking about when you say that. So
some deep psychological stuff. Love, Death, and Robots season 2 was disappointing. You know, just a short review. It was disappointing.
oh, I didn't see it. I forgot.
Yeah, it was.
I'm gonna go do that after. I'm gonna go do that after.
Because it being shorter is fine. It was like half as long, but you know, it's animation, so you know that takes a lot of work. That makes sense. But it wasn't nearly as diverse as the first season. And when you have an anthology series, especially one where the art style changes every episode, you want it to be diverse. And in this one, it was way too much realistic. Like, I mean, hyper realistic. Like, it looked really good. Like, it looked really good. Episodes. There were too many of those. And when you watch it, you'll go, this could have just been a live action short. And it would have been fine, because clearly the actors they're using are real actors that they scanned and everything. And it's like, what was the point? This could have been live action. When I come to see an animated anthology show, I want to see some cool animation, though this was super detailed, realistic stuff, and it was great to see. I can see real life already. I can look at my hand.
I can look outside. I can look out my window.
Look outside. I can go touch some grass. Like
I was just about to make the touch grass joke. Yeah.
But yeah, and they also rely, I feel like, on a lot of big name actors. Like one of them has Michael B. Jordan in it.
Oh, that's cool.
He's been in a lot of animated stuff recently. Have you ever seen Genlock? It's a Rooster Teeth show that's really good. Michael B. Jordan. He plays the main character. Check it out. It's a mech anime.
I hate mech anime. You know I hate mech. That's like my like second least favorite type of anime. Like I hate.
It's on HBO Max. Just check out the first episode. Genlock. But yeah, Parakiss is a anime that I discovered through a podcast that I'll get to later. I only watched the first episode. All of the episodes are on YouTube for whatever reason. It's only 12 episodes long. And I'm also probably gonna end up reading the manga. It's a genre of manga I didn't know existed. It's a fashion anime. Yeah, I was like, what? I didn't even know that existed. And
I didn't either.
Technically the genre is the woman version of seinen. Seinen is essentially manga and anime for like young adult men. Versus like how shonen is for boys, seinen is essentially, you know, the adult version of shonen. And then there's a girl's version of that. I think it's called shoujo. And then there's a woman's version I can't remember the name of. That's essentially what this is, the woman's version of seinen. But it's really not, because there's essentially another genre even above that. It's essentially just mature. Kids shouldn't read this genre. And that's essentially what this is, because it's definitely very mature. There's some sex. There's some like, again, some like, there's some emotional abuse type stuff in here. Again, it's good so far. I'll get back to you next time when I watch the rest. Issue 4 of Radiant Black released. I read that. It was good. It was a little odd. Something happened in it that I won't spoil that threw me off, but you should check it out, Amir. Radiant Black is interesting.
That reminds me.
Hold up.
Okay, yeah, I'll let you go. And then just remind me.
I read the first issue of Wonder Girl because I've been so excited for Wonder Girl. Yara Floor.
Oh, the Yara Floor, the new series or the Future State one?
Future State.
Oh, you haven't read the Future State one?
Not Future State. The what is it called? Infinite Frontier.
I was gonna say, I was like, I was like, what?
I read all the Future State one because I love it.
I was like, I remember us talking about the Future State one. Like, yeah, wait a minute.
Frontier, yeah. The first issue was out. It was good. I watched The Incredibles and The Incredibles 2 back to back. One night, I was just like, I've been wanting to watch The Incredibles again for a while. It's my favorite Pixar movie. I sat down and watched it. I was like, man, this is good. Let's watch the second one. I went, drank some coffee, sat down, and watched the second one because this is like in the middle of the night. It's great. I finally watched Birds of Prey. That movie's bad. Oh, terrible. That movie is hot, steaming garbage. We talked about this before. I don't want to go too deep into it because we went on so many tangents this early in the podcast.
You hadn't seen it, apparently. I had seen the whole thing. You hadn't seen it.
I hadn't seen all of it. I've seen parts of it, but I finally watched all of it. It's not good, man. Oh, you know what? I'm going on. I'm tangent. I'm gonna cut out that curse word. Um, Cassandra Cain was so bad. Why? You know what's crazy though? I hate when they do this. When you name a character, right, after a character that, if you read the comics, is a famous character, but essentially make it a new character. This isn't Cassandra Cain. It doesn't even seem like Cassandra Cain in any sense of the name. This isn't Cassandra Cain. This literally could have been any random little girl. Secondly, why the hell was Huntress in this movie? She was there for 5 minutes. She was barely in the movie. Thirdly, why Black Canary? Like, with everything they did with Black Canary was so weird. It was so weird. At least she was in the movie more than Huntress, but why? Last but not least, why was this called Birds of Prey? Well, I know why, because Margot Robbie wanted it to be called Birds of Prey, and it was actually something that she wanted. But the studio was actually planning, guess what they were planning to make?
Gotham City Sirens.
Yes. They were planning to make Gotham City Sirens, but Margot Robbie wanted Birds of Prey. For whatever reason, starring Harley Quinn, which is ridiculous. This should have been either a straight up Harley Quinn movie or Gotham City Sirens, which apparently they're still planning on making. Which I'll be happy to see that because I want it. And I think Margot Robbie's a good Harley Quinn. You don't like Harley Quinn in general, but
I don't like Harley Quinn in general. I like Margot Robbie. I don't like Harley Quinn.
Yeah, as Harley Quinn, I think Margot Robbie's really good. I like Harley Quinn a lot. The cartoon's great. I think she definitely has a lot of potential in the movies. I'm excited for Suicide Squad. She'll probably be great in that. But yeah,
I'm not gonna say what I was gonna say about Harley Quinn and the new Suicide Squad movie.
This movie was ridiculous. The podcast I was talking about is called Manga Splaining, and coincidentally, Chip Zdarsky, the dude that's writing the current Daredevil run, is on the podcast. That's actually how I found the podcast. I think I was looking, I don't remember what I was doing, but I just came across his Twitter. And he says something about the podcast, and I went and checked out an episode he did on Beastars. He doesn't really read manga or watch anime or anything like that, but they wanted to get his opinion as a comic artist on these different manga and stuff. And it's actually a really interesting podcast. If you want, you should check it out. It's called Manga Splaining. It's on I'm listening to it on Spotify.
That's where I listen to all my podcasts.
Yeah, it's on I've listened to most of my podcasts on YouTube. Because I have YouTube Premium, so I just do everything on YouTube since I could listen to stuff and watch stuff without the screen being on. And plus I have no ads. Like, I told you this before, but the last time I had Premium and then didn't resubscribe to save some money, and then I got an ad, I immediately resubscribed.
Oh, let me unsubscribe from Amazon Prime real quick, because
I reminded you.
I had like $15 in my account on like the day after I got paid, and I didn't realize why, because I thought that the only subscriptions I still had were
you were just
like Spotify and HBO, and I had like $15. I was like, oh my god, Amazon.
The only subscriptions that I don't like, I just let them happen, are Netflix, Disney Plus, and Hulu, because I use those all the time, and my mother and other like brothers and stuff use them, so they get used constantly. But the ones that I always subscribe to for like a month or two is HBO Max, because it's so expensive, and I don't use Amazon Prime very often. So I was just like, this is my first time using Prime Video. I usually use Prime for shipping and stuff like that, but I don't usually watch stuff on Prime Video. I'm until Invincible. But anyway, moving on. Adventure Time, Distant Lands, the 3rd episode, which was titled Finn and Jake. Actually, I don't think that's what it was titled, but it was about Finn and Jake. It was a tearjerker. If anybody who likes Adventure Time and grew up with that show and loves that show, this episode might make you tear up a little bit. I really love Adventure Time. And I remember watching the last episode, and the song that plays at the end of every episode of Adventure Time. Yeah. And of course, naturally, it plays at the end of the last episode. But instead of it going to credits, they show stuff happening, and it was just, man, I was tearing up. That was the last episode. But this recent episode of Distant Lands, there's one episode left, and it's going to be about Peppermint Butler, which is a little bit weird for the very last episode to be focused on Peppermint Butler, but it's going to be great, and I'm excited.
I love Peppermint Butler. I'm not a huge fan of Adventure Time, but I do like Peppermint Butler a lot.
Last but not least, I've been watching so much iBerleezy lately. Most
I
like
watch Berleezy every time he drops a new video, but
it
he's been
started.
going hard
It
lately.
started because he started playing RE8, and I wanted to watch him play RE8 because he's hilarious. And then because he was playing this zombie game, I was like, his gameplay of The Walking Dead is infamous. Let me finally watch it. And I went and watched the first season. It was great. A lot of his most famous memes come from that
Come
series.
from that, yeah.
Like, I'm gonna say the N-word real quick, but he was like, nigga, are you serious? That is one of the most infamous Berleezy memes ever. And yeah, Berleezy.
I gotta ask you, did you see his Detroit Become Human playthrough?
No, I haven't seen that. But whenever he plays decision-based games, it's always funny. Because he's so like all his like responses are driven by emotion. And it's so great.
He doesn't think about anything. Like something could be said like 3 seconds ago, and it will go in like crucial. It will go in one ear and out the other because he's having an emotional.
He also he misses so many subtleties that they try to foreshadow stuff, like either a character being pregnant or a character being bitten by a walker, and he will not notice it. They will literally show the bite mark, and it will like it doesn't even, this can't go in an ear and out another because he's seeing it. So it's going into his eyes, bouncing
and
off
not coming out,
and then just going out somewhere else. Like he just doesn't see it. It's hilarious though. If you don't watch Berleezy, check out some Berleezy. It's hilarious.
Berleezy's excellent. What kills me is he's amazing. He's really good at games.
Yeah.
He's terrible at decision making. He's one of the worst decision making game players I've ever seen. And that's for someone so good at gaming. He can't do it. He literally got an ending so bad in Detroit Become Human. It was like nobody, like I'm pretty sure he's the only person in the world that I know of that has ever gotten that ending because it was so bad. Like,
yeah,
it was the worst ending you could possibly get in the game. And he was so confused.
You know, I'm not even upset that that we're going on so many tangents because I'm realizing that this episode doesn't have any big specific like review or something that we're going to be talking about. So we don't have anything specific that this episode is going to be focused on. Okay. So us going on random stuff, even though of course I'm going to have plot points that I'm going to get to, but it isn't that deep. First things first, current events. The creator of Berserk, Kentaro Miura, has passed away at the age of 54. It was very sudden. Apparently he passed away on the 6th. We didn't find out until a few days ago. It is currently the 24th. I think we didn't find out until the 22nd. Yeah. You've heard me talk about Berserk. I love Berserk. It's one of it's up there for me. Maybe not top 10, but it could definitely become top 10. Once I finish it, it will probably reach top 10. But top 10 manga, definitely. Not anime, because it only has one anime that it only has one season, and every other anime after that is hot garbage. But in terms of manga, definitely top 10. And his art is just so good. I'm gonna put some of it on the screen when I edit it. It's so good. I'm really sad he's gone. Just nobody knows if the story's gonna be finished. Apparently he has notes that his assistants could potentially continue the story, but I doubt it, and it's fine if this is all we get. Hopefully we get another good Berserk anime eventually, because like how you talk about how you don't watch very much anime or manga because of the way the stories tend to play out in shonen. This is this is a seinen, so this isn't a shonen.
I've read most of Berserk.
Yeah, I feel like you would love, like once this becomes I can't wait because I know it's got to happen eventually, because this is too iconic of a series for them to not to finally at some point make a proper anime adaptation that isn't 3D. I don't know why they did that. This series,
I didn't think the 3D animated movies were that bad. I actually kind of liked it. I know you don't.
The movies aren't that good, but they aren't that bad either. I'm talking about the anime specifically. There was an anime in 2016 that's 3D. It's not good. I talked about it before.
Wait, like animated like TV show? Like it's a full-on TV show?
Yes, it's on.
I only saw the 3D animated movies.
So one of the biggest reasons it's not that good is because the studio that works on it is like very, very new at 3D animation. The anime they did before that, and most of the anime they do are cutesy, bright colored, chibi anime. So it's just like, we talked about this on the manga episode with Eric as well. Why? It was unnecessary. Anyway,
Yeah, I didn't know they made like an actual TV show for it. I'm thinking of the three, and you know what, like the movies I'm talking about, like the movie trilogy they did. Yeah, that's what I was thinking of.
yeah, they did a trilogy of movies for the first arc. Or was it? It might have been the first two arcs, but
It was the first arc.
yeah, the movies are okay. I saw one of them, I think. I still would advise watching the '97 anime over the movies, but yeah, but over either of those, I would definitely say until another good anime is created, to just read the manga. The manga is really good. There was a Eternals teaser trailer literally a few hours ago. You're not that interested in it. I'm not even gonna say I'm that interested in it. I'm intrigued, but like I'm gonna watch it, but like it's not like I'm super excited for it, but I am interested.
I can't say I'm even.
Yeah.
I like certain Eternals characters in the comics, but like I don't see a reason this movie needed to exist in the first place. I mean, most of the Eternals aren't that interesting in the comics, and they surely don't have enough material to make an entire continued like aspect of the MCU out of. So I'm interested in how this is going to go.
They're writers; they could figure it out. Two, this isn't a comic; it's a movie.
I know, but that's based off of a comic, heavily based off of.
And they definitely have more than enough material for a movie at least, and for them to appear every. I don't think they're going to have a continued series of movies. I think they're going to appear in other movies. I don't think they're going to have their own series. But
I sure hope not, because that would be interesting to see.
Yeah,
but it could surprise me. It could wind up being great.
Yeah, but moving on to animation. Marvel's What If finally has released month. It's coming out in August. I can't wait for that.
I thought you said it released. I was about to freak out. I was about to be like, I will see you. We can finish recording this tomorrow. I'm gonna go watch that.
Yeah,
because I did not.
Yeah, it's releasing in August. I don't know how you feel about He-Man, but Kevin Smith, his Masters of the Universe Revelations animated series has a release date, and it's going to be split into two parts. The first part will be released July 23rd this year, 2021. There's going to be 5 episodes, the first part. I'm excited for it. I love He-Man. I watched a lot of He-Man growing up.
He-Man and the Masters of the Universe, like the original one, was like my favorite TV show as a kid. I love He-Man. Like,
okay, I didn't know you were that into He-Man.
Yeah, I'm super into He-Man. I was really disappointed when She-Ra came out, and there was like
Mark Hamill is voicing Skeletor.
Yes, I'm so excited for that. I'm so excited for Mark Hamill to voice Skeletor.
Skeletor is one of the most hilarious villains in any show I have ever watched in my entire life. His laugh.
And I really hope they keep that type of humor that was in the original show, because
I need to, whenever they release a trailer, it needs to end with his laugh. I need to hear what Mark Hamill's Skeletor laugh sounds like. It needs to start with his laugh, end with his laugh. But yeah, DC, a bunch of DC animated news. First, well, weirdly enough, actually, this isn't even on the list. This was gonna be the first thing I was gonna say. For some reason, they released a like news and like a trailer for the second part of the Long Halloween movie.
Oh, I did see that. Yeah,
the first movie hasn't even come out at all yet.
It hasn't. Yeah,
like in like next month or the month after or something like that. Like, why did
it comes out June 21st, I think.
Why did they like release so much information about the second movie when the first one hasn't come out yet? That's super weird.
I don't know, but I'm very excited for both parts of these.
I'm excited for it too. I want to watch the other two, the Superman movie in this new kind of anime universe they're setting up. And
I haven't seen the Superman movie yet.
The reason I haven't watched any of them because I just don't want to pay for them. So I'm just gonna wait till they're on HBO and then I'm gonna watch them.
Yeah, I'm waiting for them to be on HBO. I completely forgot.
Yeah, must be on HBO. I'll check it.
Like an illegal movie website.
Yeah, they're
that NSA. What? No.
They're also making a animated Injustice movie, which that intrigued me because I wonder if they'll get into some of the material from the comics that, of course, was never in the games. Because I enjoy the comics a lot, and I like that universe they set up.
I will say that what excites me about that is that it means that DC is not scared to go branch out into like alternate universe stories for their animated movies.
I mean, they never have.
I hate the Injustice storyline, but
I like Injustice a lot. The
I
story.
hate it with a
What
fire.
I hate is that I don't know if it started with Injustice, but they have just been doing the evil Superman trope. They've done it to death.
Oh, it didn't. It definitely did not start with Injustice.
Like,
but
They
what I hate about Injustice is that it literally every death is basically pointless, and it just kind of feels like it relies on shock factor, and it's basically just a poorly thought out Batman versus Superman fight. That's like it's a Batman versus Superman fight, but on like a universal scale, and that's like all it is, and it's not even that well thought out in my opinion.
I enjoy it, and I'll probably enjoy this movie, honestly.
I like the games, the gameplay, not the story, but I like the gameplay of the games. The games are fun, but
yeah. The next two are the biggest ones. First thing is there's gonna be a new Superman animated show called My Adventures with Superman. Jack Quaid from The Boys is gonna be voicing Superman. What's the character he played? He plays
Huey.
Huey. Yep. He's gonna be voicing Superman. It follows the early days of Clark, Lois, and Jimmy Olsen in their early 20s at the Daily Bugle. It's produced by Warner Brothers Animation, of course. The executive producer of Teen Titans Go is working on it. Jack Wyatt, who worked on Invader Zim, is working on it. And a couple people who worked on She-Ra and Voltron are also working on it. So just based off of the team of people and the things that they worked on before, you could already get a feeling of like the type of show this is going to be.
Which should be interesting, to say the least.
I like She-Ra. She was a good show. It's weird the whole like the rights of She-Ra and He-Man are separate, which is super weird. So that's why they've never made a He-Man series within the She-Ra universe, even though I would like them to. Because the rights are separate for whatever reason. It's weird. But yeah, next, last but definitely not least in the DC animated news, Bruce Timm returns as a showrunner of a series titled Batman Kid Crusader. Actually, I believe he's producer. Executive producer is J.J. Abrams and Matt Reeves. They're executive producers. Matt Reeves, of course, who's directing the Robert Pattinson Batman movie, and he's a producer, I think, on the GCPD show, producer and writer. So yeah, that's gonna be dope. I'm really excited for that.
I'm like free. I'm just like listening to it, and I read the post. I saw the official announcement. I'm still freaking out over it. Like Matt Reeves. I'm excited that Bruce Timm is back for the simple fact that he's good with ideas. We've talked about how most of what Matt Reeves gets credit for was actually like Dwayne McDuffie and like his team that kept him in check, and that without them,
no. Bruce Timm has contributed a lot of really good stuff to that. I don't want to make it seem like he wasn't a big part of what, like how good that show is. He designed most of the characters. He's the reason it looks the way it looks. And he's not really a writer. He's a animator and a character designer, and that's where
I will say that
that's where he contributed like to the tone of the story. He contributed to the visuals of the entire story, and it was other people.
I'll say I liked his animation. I like his.
It was other people on the writing team who really made the stories what they are.
Come to life
in terms of the aesthetic of how it looks and the tone of the entire story. Bruce Timm and the co-creator whose name I'm mad I keep forgetting. He was responsible for that. But Paul Dini is a big, part of the reason why the stories are as good as they are.
Yeah, I'm as long as he doesn't sit in like, I don't know. As long as I don't get another like Batman or Harley Quinn movie or a Batman the Killing Joke, I'll be okay. But speaking of Matt Reeves though, I don't know if you saw it. I saw it and literally fangirl screamed at the top of my lungs for like 5 minutes straight. Did you see that Prime One Studios revealed their Matt Reeves the Batman statue?
I did see that. He looks way buffer in that statue than he's going to be in the movie.
And he has a white eyes as a removable helmet or as a removable head. My thing is, I think that Robert Pattinson could have gotten like bigger for like nearing the end of the series or nearing the end of the movie. So I do think that because typically Prime One makes pretty like one-to-one, especially when adapting like movie stuff. They make pretty one-to-one stuff.
They
So
also make some really good and really big berserk statues. Their berserk statues are so good. And there's this character, a minor spoiler alert, so skip forward a few seconds if you don't want to spoil it. A character named Nosferatu Zod, who transforms into a giant beast that looks like has the face of a lion, a big buff hairy body, and like horns and like bull horns and big bat wings. The bat wings aren't part of this statue, by the way, otherwise it would be far bigger. And they have a statue of him, and it is huge, dude. I'm talking like my upper body huge.
It's like that big. That doesn't surprise me. Prime
I'm
one
not
makes,
a small person, so like that statue's big.
Prime one makes some like good stuff.
Yeah.
But I'm very excited because it comes with the white eyes as a helmet, and they typically make pretty one-to-one accurate stuff. So I'm assuming that Robert Pattinson probably got a little bigger. And immediately when I saw it, the first thing out of my mouth was, that's the Batman. He looks more like Batman than any other live screen, like on-screen actor. No. In this statue, he looks more Ben like Affleck
looks the
absolutely
most
not. He looks more Batman than Ben Affleck. He looks far more Batman than Ben Affleck. Ben Affleck looked fat. He looked like he had been looked in Wayne Manor eating chips because he was depressed because Dick died. That's what Ben Affleck looked like.
He looked more like Batman. Okay, we could agree to disagree, but you're wrong. So anyway,
no, not at all. No. If you see the statue,
based on the poster of this show, which I'll put up on the screen, and based on a little bit of what they said about redefining, Gotham and Batman's story, I'm wondering if they'll lean into Batman killing people like he did in the early comics, because in the poster,
Lord, I hope not.
in the poster, he looks like how the original Batman looked with the way the ears looked, and he didn't have purple gloves in this, but he has purple gloves in his like first appearance. And based on that, I was like, will he be a murderer, like straight up murderer, like he is in the early comics, where he was just literally shooting people and chopping cars on top of people. And also, I'm sure you've seen it, but that animated short that Bruce Timm made I don't know how long ago, but that was in black and white. That was
I did see that.
Like a early, like a 30s Batman type thing. I wonder if the show will be like that. Maybe not in black and white, but something along those lines, to where it takes place in like the past and Batman, like in the 30s or something like that. That would be cool. That would make it even more noir than Batman the animated series already was, because it would literally take place in that time period that you think of when you think of noir.
What I'm thinking of, and I really hope this is the case. This might not be the case at all, but what I'm hoping for, because Matt Reeves is executive producer on this, and because they're literally building a universe around Robert Pattinson's Batman, with the rumored Catwoman show. I don't know if it got confirmed or not, but the rumored Catwoman show and the confirmed GCPD show. What I'm hoping is that this winds up like, I don't know if you've ever seen, let me see if I can look it up, because it's something along the lines of like Batman The Dark Knight or something like that. Not the movie The Dark Knight, but it takes place in that universe. And basically what it is almost like, I know I've talked about it before, like the Legends of Luke Skywalker comic, where it's people sharing stories about Batman in the Dark Knight universe, and you never know what's true and what's not.
I don't feel like the show would be like that.
I hope it's like that. Because that'd be awesome.
Like, because they could definitely have an episode like that. Like, they've done stuff like that before in the animated series, but like to have the entire show like that, I don't know. I wouldn't be mad at it, but I wouldn't like it very much. But like, it's a show, so they could literally do an episode literally just like that, where there's just a person talking about what Batman was doing and never actually showing it.
Hang on, I gotta find this.
Okay. Well, while you look for that, we also talked a little bit about how, because of this new kind of resurgence of DC animated shows and movies, like what other DC animated series we would like to see? What were you gonna say?
It's Batman Gotham Knight.
Okay.
I don't know why that took me so long to figure out, but it was Batman Gotham Knight.
But yeah, we were talking about what other DC animated shows we could get, and we ended up arguing about Green Arrow and Black Canary, and we also talked about having a Nightwing. We also started arguing about Nightwing. And then I also mentioned Wonder Woman. We talked about the Flash, of which we agreed with because you were talking my language. But let's go a little bit more in detail. Essentially, with Nightwing, we were arguing about the art style, and he wanted it to be in the current run of Nightwing 2021 art style, like fully, no matter the budget, all the way. And I'm like, they could do that without breaking the bank. And he was like, nah, I want them to put all the money in the world. And I'm just like,
but no, because the original thing was you were saying that it would be too expensive to do. Yes, and I'm like, that was my original argument, was that it wouldn't be too expensive because they're doing more, they're spending far more money than they would ever spend on this. My was that I'm almost certain they're going to perform less.
Yeah, my argument was if they were to do a 1-to-1 animation style in the way the art style is in the comic, it would be too expensive. And that they could do something close enough that would still please you, that would be a tad bit more affordable.
No.
Yeah, see, look, this is where the argument came from. I'm just gonna leave it there. No point in dragging it out because we're literally just gonna, it's not gonna go. But with Green Arrow and Black Canary, we were talking about how, and I feel like in some ways you gotta concede a little bit in the fact that Wally's more recognizable than Connor Hawke is. And Connor Hawke, him being in the show is a thing that I agree with you has to happen and should happen. And he should take the role of Green Arrow at some point. And also for the people who don't know who Connor Hawke is, he's a person who becomes Green Arrow in the comics at some point.
You should know who Connor Hawke is, but
I mean, no, because a lot of people don't, know who.
But that's the thing, though. That's another argument, though. People know Wally is the Flash because Wally was the Flash in so many animated things. But Connor Hawke has been animated in nothing.
But yeah, that's what I'm saying. So him being in the show should happen. I want it to happen, and he should take up the mantle at some point. But I think for majority of the show, the Green Arrow should be Oliver Queen, and because this is specifically a Green Arrow and Black Canary show, like the relationship between Oliver and Black Canary will be a big, point of the show. So,
I disagree. The comic Green Arrow and Black Canary. The comic Green Arrow and Black Canary was Connor Hawke throughout the majority of the series until near to the end, because Oliver was not dead because it was after his resurrection, but they didn't know that. They still thought he was dead, and this was like he was stuck on Themyscira, trapped by the Amazonians for the majority of the series until Connor and Dinah found him. So I don't see a reason why it should have to be Connor it should have to be Oliver for the majority of the show. I think it would work perfectly with Connor for the majority of the show.
I'll concede to equal.
I concede to equal, but I still think that he should take almost more, not more prevalence, but like he should definitely. That's a lot of bananas. He should definitely. No.
What?
It's a long story. It's a really long story.
I'm flipping that and posting it on Instagram. I hope you know that. That's happening. That's a lot of bananas. Okay.
No, because I'm like balancing like Breath of the Wild, because I do that to focus because I have real bad ADHD and otherwise I wouldn't focus on anything. And like I ran into this room and there's like a pile of like bananas like twice as high as a Link, and I was
you got the Yiga clans, like
yeah, it's the Yiga clan hideout. I'm like, I was just like running because I actually set them off and like they're chasing me. I'm like running trying to find the help, and I'm like, oh, that's like a lot of bananas. Like, why are there? Yeah. So I'm sorry about that. But yeah, no, I think Connor, because Connor was the only Green Arrow in post-crisis for longer than Oliver was Green Arrow in post-crisis. So like.
Yeah, you talk about the Flash and how, Wally should be the main Flash in a Flash series. And I agree because, I love Wally. And Wally's great. And Wally is the Flash that people don't realize it. But when they think of the Flash, they think of Wally. But they misplace the personality of Wally as being Barry. Because Barry is the one in name that you think of, but in terms of personality, it's Wally that people tend to think of because that's the one, like you said, that was in the Justice League the animated series. So when people think Wally, they think that character, but a lot of people don't even realize that that's Wally.
When I think of the Flash, I think of Barry personally.
That's what I said. I said a lot of people think Barry off the top of their head, but they think
No,
Wally.
I mean like personality and everything.
Yeah, but most people associate Wally's personality with Barry because of that show, because they thought that was Barry. It wasn't. It was Wally. So yeah, Wally would be great. I want a Wonder Woman show. I've been wanting it forever with Susan Eisenberg, the voice of Wonder Woman in the Justice League cartoons. The voice her. That would be great. But okay, moving on. I wanted to talk about this a little bit more in detail, and this was going to be the big like main point of this episode. But but you don't watch it, and a person I wanted to have on here didn't finish watching it. But Castlevania, the
Oh yeah, I don't watch Castlevania.
animated series, it ended a couple weeks ago or a week ago at this
Finally, no.
point. It was really good. The season, bro, you gotta watch it. It's really short.
I started watching the first season and I didn't like it.
Okay, if anything, I definitely wouldn't advise you to watch the third season, because if you watch the third season, you would never want to watch the show again. Like, if anything, the third season is so slow.
The first season was ridiculously slow, and that's why I stopped watching it.
The first season was not slow. It was literally only 4 episodes.
So slow.
It was literally only 4 episodes.
It was so slow.
Here's the thing what I'll say. These writers at Powerhouse are bad at pacing.
Oh, I can agree with that, yes.
They are not
I
very
can definitely agree with that.
Good at pacing, because season 3 and a lot of what you're complaining about in season 1 is that they're the way they, let me look at my notes specifically because there's a word I'm looking for that I can't think of.
About those SAT words for
setup.
something.
That's what it is, setup. They're trying to set things up, but they don't know how to make setup interesting.
At all.
They don't know how to make setup interesting. The payoff is always great though. You've watched the first season. The animation was great. The fight scenes were great, but the setup to that payoff isn't interesting at all. Here's what I'll say about the 4th season and why you should watch just the 4th season. The 4th season is all payoff. There is no setup anymore. The setup was very painful in season 3. And because of that, season 4 is all payoff. And I feel like you might enjoy season 4. It's only like 10 episodes, 30 minutes each episode. At the very least, check out season 4. And next week, we'll talk about it. So please, check out season 4. We'll talk about it next.
That's a lot of dedication for
week after next.
Something I'm balancing multiple shows. I don't know, man.
It's short, bro. You can run through.
I don't know, man.
We'll see. But yeah, we'll talk about Castlevania next time because I have the guest on, and we'll be able to discuss it in detail. Comics. I'll talk about Wonder Girl, but I've also been
Nightwing. Yes, because that reminds me. Nightwing issue 80.
We can talk about, but also I've been reading the Mighty Thor, Jane Foster. And it's really damn good. I forget what drew me to it, but it was on Comixology. I borrowed the first book because I didn't have to pay for it. And
I mean, we both know that we don't technically have to pay for comics, but legally we should. And if we want to see the industry thrive.
But yeah, Mighty Thor is really good. I'm 2 volumes in, and it's really good so far.
A very big difference there.
Yeah, that's a very big difference. I'm like 10 issues in, or maybe more, I think, at this point. Yeah, it's really good. Have you read Mighty Thor?
I read a little bit of it. I'm not a big Thor fan, regardless of like what character it is, just because I've never been a big. As I read this,
well, Ragnarok made me like Thor a lot more, and this is making me like Thor even more. And it's showing me how much of his just world they aren't using in the movies. He has so much in his universe of characters that they could pull from that I feel like they're not using at all in the movies. Like Enchantress has not shown up at all in the movies.
She showed up in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., but
which is ridiculous. How the hell is she going to show up in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.? But I thought
she was pretty cool in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. I'm not gonna lie. She and Sif showed up, but like she's not in the movies.
She should have at least made like a cameo in one of the movies at this point. Like, come on. And she's
a pretty important character.
The biggest. Here's the thing. She should have showed up. She could have showed up in the second movie. And you know why? Because the biggest character in the Mighty Thor, literally the big overarching villain, is Malekith. And in the comics, he's very similar to Loki. He's a conniving, charismatic character, but he's similar without being the exact same. And in the movies, they made him this kind of stoic, just angry elf man. And
Oh man.
the way his plan to essentially take over all the realms in the comics go versus the movie, I'm like, I don't remember which one came first because this was like 2014. So I think Dark World came out maybe a year or two before.
Dark World came out 2011.
2011?
I think so. I'm pretty sure.
The first Thor movie came out 2011 because Avengers came out 2012. Thor: The Dark World.
And it was like 2013 because it wasn't 2014.
It was definitely 2013. It was definitely 2013. I'm pretty sure. And I think this came out 2014. So this was
2013.
Yeah, so this was after Thor: The Dark World. But even then, Lovecraft existed and was cool before that. I feel like they could have had a better story than they did with the Dark World. But you want to talk about Nightwing?
Yes, sir. Oh my god. Nightwing's current run is perfect. There's literally no other way to put it. It's perfect.
I haven't read it yet, but I don't mind if you spoil it.
Okay, you don't mind if I spoil it? Because I'm going to spoil it. There's only 3 issues out of this run so far. It's like, it's not spoiled.
I'll check it out later.
So, the first thing, Dick Grayson and Barbara Gordon, they're not officially together, and it's actually really funny because the status of the relationship was a little weird because Death Metal was what capped off and ended Rebirth. No. Okay, I know I don't like Death. You know for a fact I don't like Death Metal. This is coming from a huge Batman fan.
The moment you said Death Metal, I was like, oh god.
I hated Death Metal.
Here's the thing:
a fiery passion.
Right after you're finished with Nightwing, what I have to talk about involves Death Metal a little bit. All the negative parts of it.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Oh, Death Metal was so bad. But at the end of Death Metal, because Death Metal was the big event that ended Rebirth, and then Future State popped up, and then Infinite Frontier popped up after that. So at the end of Death Metal, the very end, Dick and Barbara get married, technically. Bruce marries them, and they're like, if we make it through this alive, we'll get our marriage annulled, and we'll date for real. We'll like actually put effort into it. They're one of my favorite comic book couples. So I'm like, okay, awesome. First issue happens. Literally, like almost all that happens in the first issue is Dick gets back in Bloodhaven. He saves a dog, so he now has a dog, a little 3-legged dog. I forget what her name is, but she's super cute. He goes home. Barbara Gordon's actually like waiting for him in his apartment, like she snuck in like without like a key or anything, because of course, I mean she's Batgirl, is what she does.
Yeah. He's a billionaire.
Yeah, he's oh yeah. Alfred had died, which hopefully that ends soon. It feels weird, like looking back at stuff like, before I read comics. It feels so weird, like it's like you look back at stuff before you read comics, and you're like, oh yeah, nothing in comics lasts forever. But then like while it's happening, you're like, this is taking
you're like
so long
like,
to resolve.
Alfred's been dead for far too long. Bring him back.
Yeah, I'm like Alfred's been dead for like 2 years at this point. Like, no, come on, where are you? Yeah, and they're still like talking about like his death. So I'm like, it's gonna be a while. He's gonna come back, obviously, but it's gonna be a while, and I'm not happy about that. But at the same time, I'm happy because Alfred this whole time had been saving his money. He was a billionaire this entire time, and in his will, he left Dick all his billions of dollars, which in my opinion is hilarious because like before he died, was it before he died the Joker?
Funny because he didn't even.
No, it was after he died. It was after he died, but Bruce lost all his money, and he gave all his money to.
Yeah, it's funny because it's like he didn't even think to split it up among his different children. He was just like,
it was just all to Dick.
You by yourself, you get all of it, and it's like clearly that was just for the writers to make Nightwing rich because I feel like in reality he would have split it up among the Robins. I don't think he would have just given it all to Nightwing. He would have split it up among them. I think it makes no sense for them to not have made that the case because Nightwing could have still been ridiculously rich, even if Alfred split it up among all of the Robins.
I mean, $2 billion is more than a lot of people think, because $2 billion
alone. $1 billion is a lot already.
Like, $1 billion is literally, or $2 billion is literally enough to end homelessness in the United States. Yeah. If just $2 billion, you're good for
people.
Many lifetimes.
It's hard to even think about how much $1 billion is.
Yeah, no, I'm like, but yeah, Dick is rich now. He and Barbara went out for pizza afterwards because they were hungry. And Dick
issue 3, you're talking about issue Too much. Issue 3.
No, that was issue 1. That was all issue 1. This is still issue 1.
Okay, go.
This is still all issue 1. Well, no. This is starting to get into issue 2. Yeah, I promise I'm gonna get there. I promise. Issue 3 is where everything happens, but I promise I'm gonna get there. So, Dick decides he's gonna buy like every homeless person in the vicinity. He's gonna buy them all pizza because he decides he wants to actually do a lot more with his money than he wants to do as Nightwing. He wants to actually start making like permanent change. So he decides he buys every homeless person in the vicinity like more pizza than they can probably eat. And he decides he's gonna get this homeless guy and his son a hotel room paid up for a month, and then afterwards he would actually get him set up with a place to live. He gets his wallet stolen, and Barbara Gordon texts what turns out to be a Bat Family group chat. And I love the fact they have a group chat because I've been wanting more Bat Family content. Then issue 80 happens. Tim comes back. He's unfortunately still Robin. I need them to make him Red Robin again. It makes no sense that he's Robin again, but like whatever. Tim comes back, and there's so many callbacks to the 1996 series, and it's like my favorite Nightwing series. There's so many callbacks to that. Blockbuster is back in the shadows. He and Tim have their little train ride talks, like they're riding on top of the train. And he actually refers to him as his brother. And I'm like, yes, this is like all the Bat Family content I've been wanting, because it's like,
yes,
they're family. And we talked about this last episode. They're supposed to be, like, realistically, they should be acting like a family. And now they're actually acting like a family. And I like it.
Brothers.
And they're calling each other family and everything. Also, back to Dick and Barbara. Dick gets accused of murder because the homeless guy that he buys, he buys the hotel room, he gets murdered and his son goes missing. And so the cops show up at his house because they're like, you reported your wallet stolen, can't see your card. He's like, yeah. He's like, you also ordered a hotel room, but you seem fine here. He's like, oh yeah, those for a guy. He's like, oh yeah, that guy is dead. So can you tell us everything you know about it? And he's like, yeah, sure. And so he calls Barbara because Barbara spent the night. And he calls her. He's like, hey, can you come back? Because I'm being accused of murder. You're my only alibi. So she comes back and they're interrogating them. They're like, so what's the nature of your relationship? And then they just look at each other and they look back, and Dick is like, I've been looking for a way to ask that, but I don't think an interrogation is the best way I wanted to approach this. And oh my god, it's all the content I've been wanting for like all my favorite characters.
I need like we said, we need a Nightwing show so bad. Like every as you talk about this, I'm just thinking the whole time, like, imagine this animated.
This would be perfect. Like,
man, we need it so bad. What's taking them so long? They know we like Nightwing. They know we love Nightwing. Nightwing is top 5 favorite characters in general. I love Nightwing.
He's one of my.
He was number 2 for so long until I fell in love with Wally West. But Nightwing is.
He might be number 5 in my characters of all time. He might be number 2 in my DC characters.
For me, I think he's number 4, just below Spider-Man. But in DC characters, he's number 3 because it goes Batman, Wally, Nightwing. But if I add all characters, Spider-Man goes in between Wally and Nightwing. But yeah.
Yeah, I'm excited about that. Also, the Asian superhero celebration happened.
I just saw some artwork for that earlier.
Did you read it though? Because I remember I read it and I told you I sent you a picture of it because Connor Hawke is back. Yeah. And I was freaking out because I love Connor Hawke so much. He's like my 3rd favorite DC character of all time. And like that list changes because I'm not gonna lie, because he was like written out of canon. I kind of forgot he existed for a while. And like then he was back and like all the memories came flooding back. And I was like, oh yeah, he's like my 3rd favorite DC character. And I'm so excited that he's back. And he had a story with one of my not favorite DC characters, but a character I really like and really wish that they do more with, or hope that they do more with now, is Kenan Kong Superman. He's the Chinese Superman.
Yeah, he's cool.
They do.
It was like, I was watching iBerleezy's videos and I was looking at how long ago they were. And then it blew my mind. I was like, The Walking Dead season 3 came out 3 years ago. And I'm just sitting there like, oh my God, where has time gone? Yeah. It's so weird. And then season 4 came out soon after that. And then I was just sitting there like, this is crazy how long ago this was. And then because I'm bringing that up because I'm like, Age of
Yeah, I
Superman.
was wondering where that was going, but
Yeah,
I was
that,
anything
came,
about it.
that came out of nowhere because I was just thinking about Age of Superman and I was like, he's been around for at least that long. Because I remember
Yeah,
when it happened. I remember when he
he's
first came along. It was a whole like Asian Justice League.
yeah, it was the Chinese Justice League because the Chinese government wanted their own Justice League.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm happy that he's back. I really want him and Duke Thomas to team up. Like I want them to be like that generation's world finest. Like I really want that generation's world finest to be like Duke Thomas and Keenan Kong. But I'm just glad that Connor Hawk is back. And they actually had his mom and his grandmother in this, and they're like hardly in anything. As a matter of fact, I don't think his grandmother's ever been in anything aside from like passing mentions, but like they're in it, and I was so happy about it. So
Who's his grandmother?
his grandmother's just like an old Korean lady, and his mom's a half black, half Korean lady.
Who Korean lady?
But I mean, like, no, because really, like, he's mentioned her a few times, but like, she was never a character. I don't. His mom showed up a few times in post crisis, back when he was Green Arrow, but like, not much after that. And he's for those who don't know, because we said that he becomes Green Arrow, but we don't say who. We never said who he is. He's Oliver Queen's illegitimate son, which is why Arrow made no sense why like that version of Connor Hawk
How did you go on Connor Hawk in era?
yeah, no. That version of Connor Hawk made no sense at all, especially because Connor Hawk in Post Crisis was a really, really, really important character to the Green Arrow mythos, and he was Oliver's illegitimate son, which is like a huge plot line both for Oliver and for Connor.
Costume looked good.
And what'd you say?
The costume looked good though.
The costume from the Legends of Tomorrow version looked cool.
Yeah, the
costume from the rest of Arrow was literally just him in a leather jacket and a bulletproof vest.
Yeah, no, I'm talking about the Legends of Tomorrow costume.
No, Legends of Tomorrow one looked cool, but like that wasn't that wasn't the rest of the show. Like that was like one episode. I completely forgot about that. I'm not gonna lie. Like when I think Connor Hawk, I think like season 7, season 8 of Arrow, and like that he was cool, I guess, but he wasn't Connor Hawk. So I'm a little sad about that. It's really weird to me. They made Mia be Oliver's daughter, but in the comics, Connor's Oliver's son, and Mia is Mia Dearden. She's not even Mia Smoke. She's Mia Dearden. Is a completely different character entirely. Like I don't know why that. Why do they switch? Why do they switch characters like this?
I mean, do it sometimes just because the character's not known, so they could literally do anything with them. So they want to make an interesting story.
But it doesn't add anything to the character to switch them. Like it doesn't add anything, and then it makes your job harder because now you're having to make stuff up on the fly instead of having reference material. And then like I don't know, why doesn't like the CW hire us? Why is that not a thing? Because I feel like we do a much better job. Like they're on ketamine in that room, in that writer's room. I swear to God.
But yeah, when it comes to comics, I want to talk about how there was this post on Twitter that said Demon Slayer manga outsells the entirety of the American comic industry, which is insane.
Did it really?
Yeah. Let me double check real quick. I might have to cut it out because it might take me a long time. But like, I didn't question it because
that just I don't know. That doesn't make a lot of sense to me.
Because in I think it was last year, the movie that came out is the highest grossing, even above the last one was like a Miyazaki movie, highest grossing of all time of anime movies ever.
Yeah, I did see that, but and so like I would believe that. I don't believe the comic book one. That doesn't make sense to me at all. Like the most accurate data that this is giving me is from 2019.
Here it is.
And a total for 83.2 million copies.
Wait, say that again?
83.2 million copies.
Excuse me, 83.2
million copies, yes.
Okay.
This is the most accurate data it's given me.
Okay.
Ooh, comic sales peaked in 2016.
Yeah, so that makes it, that actually makes the article true then.
That's like not that much higher, but it was actually that's not true. It is much higher, but What was going on in 2016? Rebirth was going on in 2016. That actually makes sense.
It feels so weird that Rebirth was that long ago.
It does. When I think about Rebirth, I'm thinking like.
But it feels weird because Rebirth was longer ago than we think it is. But for me, at least, the New 52 started sooner than it does in my mind because it started in 2011. But to me, it started earlier than that because it feels like everything that happened to me in 2011 feels like it happened in 2005.
Yeah, 2000. How old was I in 2011?
Like 10.
Yeah, it was like 10 years ago. I was 8, 9.
How old
I was like 9.
How old are you?
19. Well, 19 next month. So, yeah.
I didn't know you were 2 years younger than me.
Yeah, so I was 9 in 2011. So yeah, no, it feels like super long ago to me.
You're like a year and a half younger than me. But yeah.
A year and a couple months.
No, it's a year and a half because.
Year and a half exactly?
Year's halfway over at this point almost. And your birthday is in a month. And then mine is in November. So it's like a year and like 5 months or something like that. But
I keep forgetting years are only like 12 months long.
Yeah, but first things first, I'm pretty sure I don't know if we talked about this on a podcast before, but we've talked about this in private, is that it's harder for people to get into American comic books than it is manga because of the constant reboots. And when comics tie into each other, it gets weird and you're not sure which comics to read if you want to follow a timeline the correct way. And because of how complicated it is to just sit down and read a comic, which it shouldn't be, it makes it hard for people to even get into it. Whereas every manga is, there's usually one writer. Sometimes there's a writer and an artist working together, but usually there's 1 or 2 people with some editors and assistants working on one comic by themselves. Usually, like I said, one person, and it's one vision and one consistent art style all the way through. Whereas, American comics, the art style tends to change every now and again. Because of that, there is no confusion of where to start. You just start and you read it all the way through. And there was another thing that a person mentioned that I was trying to say earlier, but kind of almost confused, was essentially about how, a lot of comics today essentially try to pander towards more diverse audiences so that they could gather more, readers. And essentially the quote by a person, their name is @Mokinokaro. It's MOKINOKARO. And they say that the current pandering is a desperate attempt to bring in new readers since they seem dead set on not having a hard reboot needed to remove the baggage they've had for decades. More diverse characters isn't a bad thing either, but they're being handled awfully for the most part. And I have to agree. There are some great examples. They even say themselves. The one example that they use is Kamala Khan. And of course you have people like Miles Morales, and there are plenty of other examples. But you even mentioned Kenan Kong. He is a cool character.
Wait, are you saying Kamala Khan and Miles have been used badly? Because I feel like those are the only 2 examples.
No, I'm saying that they are examples of good.
Oh, I was gonna say, those are like the only 2 examples of good that I can think of on the top of my head.
That's what I was saying. I'm saying that they're one of the few examples of, good characters that get used great. But you mentioned Kenan Kong, who barely has been used since,
Yeah, he had like his own series and then like showed up a couple of times in Superman Rebirth, and then that was about it. Yeah,
because they make these characters that, for the most part, and people will talk about it all the time, how they will take a character and literally just copy another character and make them a different race. It rarely works, but when it works, like you get characters like Miles Morales, or you get Jane Foster Thor, characters that are actually good characters. And Kamala Khan isn't really even a copy because her powers are completely different from.
She's like her own. She just shares a name. Yeah.
Literally just shares a name. Otherwise, her powers are completely different. But the biggest example is just Miles. Really, Miles is the only really successful case of a character who is a different race from the original character and has for the most part, the same powers. He has the addition of the Venom powers, but he is really the only example. But every other time they do it, it doesn't work because they aren't doing it for the sake of diversity. They're doing it for the sake of bringing in diverse viewers so that their numbers could go up. And that's not good enough. You have these characters, the diverse characters that work are the characters that are created simply because you want to tell a story, not because you want to be diverse. Because if you get a Black person to write a story, guess what race the character is probably going to be?
Black, yeah, exactly.
And And they aren't doing that because they want to be diverse. They're doing it because they just want to tell their own story. And when you tell a story, you naturally want to, you lean towards telling a story about a character similar to yourself. So if you just let that happen, rather than forcing it, you'll get a lot of really good characters. Miles, like I said, is the exception. He was created by white people
and actually like succeeded,
yeah, and actually succeeded, which is rare. I can't speak on the creation of Kamala Khan. I don't know as much about her creation.
I'm pretty sure she was also created by a Muslim woman. I'm pretty sure.
Okay, but I remember
reading. I'm not certain on that, but don't quote me on that.
Like when the first volume, not volume, but issue. Actually, no, I think it was when the volume came out. It was way after the issue of her series came out. I wasn't a fan of it. It just wasn't for me. But yeah, that's all I really have to say about that.
I really like her series. I like all her series, honestly.
It wasn't really for me. I do think she's a cool character. I just think that specifically that comic wasn't for me.
That's fair.
Maybe some of the other ones might be if I took them out. I'm probably not, but I'll watch.
I think you should. I feel like you would like some of her more modern stuff.
But. I'll watch the show. The show's gonna be good. Did we talk about the costume on screen?
I think we did talk about the costume on screen. Yeah. No, we didn't. We talked about it over text.
We texted about it though. Yeah. It looks good. I'm gonna put a picture up. It looks good. The sneakers throw it off for me because I feel like the rest of the costume looks so like
high tech,
yeah. That
I'm not a fan of the high tech costumes.
To just be wearing sneakers,
the street characters.
Is weird. I think that eventually she should have gotten that costume, or maybe in this we'll see her build up to that because maybe this is later in the series, like around the last episode she gets that costume, and the one she wears before that.
If we're thinking like Daredevil terms, yeah, probably.
Yeah. And maybe she gets something a little bit more, crude later that she kind of makes herself. Because yeah, you were talking about how it's weird that she has this high-tech costume when she's this random girl in, where's she, in San Francisco or something like that?
No, she's in New Jersey.
Jersey? Okay.
Yeah. Like, and I don't like that for like a lot of street level characters. Like we talked about this over text. There is, and here I go on my Hawkeye tangent. I don't care. There is absolutely no reason that he's supposed to have like all this like high tech stuff, especially
he's an agent of S.H.I.E.L.D., bro.
He's not an agent of S.H.I.E.L.D. He's not an agent of S.H.I.E.L.D.
But in the movie, we're talking about. I thought we were talking about MCU because Kamala Khan.
No. I'm saying like even inspired by these comics. Because if we're using just the MCU argument, for all that we can say, oh, she's a donor, or she's a recipient of like the Stark.
Yeah, some
donor stuff like that. No, because that takes like genuine like important aspects of these characters away from these characters and starts giving them to bigger, more important characters, and starts making like Peter Parker is supposed to be this super, super, super smart kid in the MCU. He's given everything. Like he's given all this technology.
I mean, we can go on a whole tangent about that, but we're not. But Spider-Man in the MCU just lacks so much heart.
Yeah, he's literally. And I've been saying this for years, and I don't care how many times I get hate over this because it's true. He's literally black. He's literally whitewashed Miles Morales. It's funny. He's the whitewashed version of a black character.
Exactly, he is
whitewashed Miles Morales with like a third of the personality, or it makes him unique.
He is 100% whitewashed Miles Morales. Because literally everything about his character is Miles Morales. He got into this school for like gifted students. He has a Asian friend. Actually, I think
Ned is literally Genki. Ned is literally Genki.
Ned is like a Pacific Islander, but still, he has his Asian friend, this chubby Asian friend. He's literally just took everything that made Miles Morales and made it. You know what would have been? I almost cussed. You know what would have been really freaking cool? You know what would have been really freaking cool in the MCU because it's already very different from the comics. Peter Parker never existed, and Miles was the only Spider-Man. I think that would actually been a really interesting change.
That would have been interesting.
Like instead of the Spider-Man that we have right now, he essentially being Miles but white. Imagine if we just never got Peter, and the first and only Spider-Man that we got in this universe was Miles.
That would have been clean.
That would have been really cool. I'm kind of mad.
I've actually thought about that.
That didn't happen.
Wait, what'd you say?
I'm kind of mad that didn't happen now because that could have been really cool.
I've thought about that a lot, actually. What I would rather have them have done, simply for the fact that Peter's like a big part of Miles' like history, and like even like part of like Miles' like what I would have preferred they'd done, because, and we've talked about this before. You've agreed a bit. This random number is calling me. You've agreed with me a little bit on this before. the Amazing Spider-Man movies felt like they were about to be in the MCU. Like it felt like they were like one small tie-in or mention away from being like an official part of MCU canon. If they had just kept Andrew or kept the Amazing Spider-Man movies canon and like put that in the MCU,
Yeah,
the first Spider-Man we could have had would have been Miles.
Yeah, is there any point in either of those movies where they are specific about what year it is?
No, there's not.
Because if there isn't, they could have just made the excuse that everything that happened with Spider-Man happened like before the first Avengers movie.
I would have said would have happened after the first Avengers movie and just kept, because it's so like small scale.
Yeah, after the first Avengers, but before the second. And like
before the second of before Age of Ultron, but after the first one is where like the first movie should have been set. And like really, like I've been every time I go and rewatch those movies, because you know those are my favorite Spider-Man movies. I don't care what anybody really says about them. I will like go fight anybody in a Denny's parking lot over there.
Yeah, I definitely Denny's parking.
Those are like my favorite Spider-Man movies.
I think they're really good.
They not like they're perfectly fine standing on their own, but every single time I watch them, I think harder. These were meant to be in the MCU. Like these were meant to be MCU movies. And so just like having Miles appear, he would have been our first on-screen MCU technically Spider-Man.
I'm going to call this episode the tangent episode. Because notice what I said right before we went on that Spider-Man tangent. I literally said, but we're not going to go on the tangent. And then we went
on the tangent, yeah.
We're supposed to call tangents Harry Potter's because that's what happened.
Harry Potter.
Our very first tangent was a Harry Potter tangent, and it was great. I want more Harry Potter. Where's Harry Potter? Actually, no, I forgot about JK. Fuck her. But anyway,
we want if you want Harry Potter but don't want to support JK Rowling, read the Dresden Files. I told you, I mentioned the Dresden Files before to you. It's literally like Harry Potter meets Buffy the Vampire Slayer meets like rated R books. Yeah. I'm not talking like sex and stuff like that.
Like violent.
But like I mean like blood and gore and just like general maturity level of it, but like Files like perfect for if you don't want to support J.K. Rowling. Yeah.
So going on TV and film. Backup movie is back on, but without Joss Whedon because of everything that's happened with Joss Whedon. I can't pronounce his name. It doesn't matter. Forget him. So yeah, they're finally still making a Batgirl movie again, which should have been happened, but I'm glad it's finally happening.
Boys for life.
I'm glad it's finally happening. Hopefully this leads into a Nightwing movie. Because honestly, the Nightwing movie should happen first. They have just been so against having another live action Robin for so long. Like Christian Bale specifically didn't want to be in a Batman movie if Robin was going to be in it, which that's fair. I understand why he did that.
In that universe, I don't see how a Robin could have worked. I'm not gonna lie. In that universe specifically, I don't see how.
I think that the way they did it, like introduced a Robin type character, was interesting, and that
Blake.
Yeah, if they were to make another movie and he became, instead of becoming Batman, or maybe he starts off as Batman, but then he becomes his own person and becomes Nightwing, that could have been really cool.
That would have been, I would have been. I love the Dark Knight trilogy, so like. And I understand why he didn't want to. Robin just wouldn't work.
Yeah, I also wonder, like, because Bruce was still alive, would he have still Loki as like a different person, like held access to that like house? Because otherwise, how is this man just gonna keep going under? Like, what if somebody else bought the land? He just kept going under these random people's house to do what he needed to do. So I'm like, some way, because I mean, Alfred could have still easily just owned all of that. Because if Bruce dies, who else was going to get all of his stuff except for Alfred?
Right.
So easily he could have still been working with Alfred. So yeah, they were planning on making a fourth movie, but
were they really? I never heard that.
Yeah, they were actually going to make a fourth movie, Christopher Nolan. But he decided not to because he felt like it was good the way it was, and that he didn't.
I agree with that.
He didn't want to run it. And I agree with that, even though I would have been interested to see where it could have gone. I would love like a comic or something like that that explores what could have been.
I definitely want to see where it goes, but at the same time, I don't see a way that on screen it could.
Yeah, that's why comics are good for stuff like that. When like a show or like a. Because I immediately thought about Batman: The Adventures Continue, which is the worst thing that ever happened to that universe. But yeah, there's gonna be a Peacemaker HBO series, which I didn't know about.
You didn't know about that?
Did not know. I saw it. The reason I found out about it is because of uh James Gunn on Twitter said something about it, and I was like, what? I was like, what do you mean? And he like posted a picture of him on set at some point. And I was just like, I didn't know this was happening. That sounds fun. I'm interested in that. Misha Green, a writer on Lovecraft Country, apparently is writing a script for a Tomb Raider movie. You know what's crazy about that? You remember that episode? I think it was episode 4 of Lovecraft Country that felt like Indiana Jones.
I didn't finish. That's actually the episode I literally didn't finish.
Is that literally the episode wait, did you start watching it but not finish it?
And you remember how I said I keep meaning to finish Lovecraft Country because it's good, and it's not like I have a problem with it. I just stopped watching.
So you started that episode.
I did start that episode.
That episode,
I'm like at the point where like they move, like they move the statue and they're about to start going down. I got to right before the Indiana Jones stuff.
Got to the really good stuff of that episode. That's one of my favorite episodes of that show. That show's really good.
It is a really good show. I love that show.
That part that episode feels really, really like a National Treasure, Indiana Jones kind of like mashup. Like it's a really fun episode that just picks on other like genres. And like based off of that, I feel like an entire movie of that one, I already like movies like that. But if she was, because that's what Tomb Raider is. So after, because at first when I saw it, I was like, that's kind of weird. Because when you think about Lovecraft Country, you don't immediately correlate that with that person being able to make a Tomb Raider movie. But when you think about the fact that Tomb Raider series always end up supernatural by the end of it. And also that episode alone, once you finish it, you'll understand. Will make you go, okay, I can see how she could make a good Tomb Raider movie. Mm-hmm. Also, why does every treasure hunting story become supernatural within like the final act? Every single time.
National Treasure actually did a really good job of staying away from that.
Yeah, like
that's the only one though.
Every Uncharted except for the 4th one did that.
I still haven't beaten the 3rd Uncharted.
You didn't?
No, the 3rd Uncharted. Again, it's something where it's like, honestly, I can say the 3rd Uncharted is probably my least favorite so far.
It's everybody.
Okay. I'm just like I feel bad for saying that. I'm still having fun.
Good. It's just not as good as the second one because the second one's literally my favorite game ever. Like it's hard.
Second one's. I can't decide if I like the first one or the second one better, honestly. For me, I really like
the first one, but the first one hurts me because I just think about that part with the jet ski and I get upset every time. There's a part with the jet ski that's really hard to control and it's weird.
Oh wait, where Elena's sitting either on like his front or his back, and she has the grenade launcher, or does Nate have the grenade? I know what you're talking about. I
hated that part.
That part was annoying. That part was. I got through it really quickly though, and like,
whenever I think about it, I just think about that, and because of that, I can never think highly of that game because I love it. Don't get me wrong, but that part just always bogs it down for me because I was like, I hate that section so much. That's
I can understand that. I can understand that.
That's just that section specifically makes that game feel so early 2000s, late 90s, because games during that time period will always have a section that was hard, not because of difficulty, but because the controls were just so weird that it made itself difficult. But yeah, I'm excited for it because I don't know if it's like a Metal Gear type situation where she's writing it but doesn't necessarily have permission to make it. Because I think Metal Gear, I'm still confused if Metal Gear is official or not, because there have been no announcements, but they keep saying stuff about it like it is. But still, like Konami or some studio, some production studio has not come out and said this is happening. But actors are getting on board. The writer has been writing it for years. There's tons of concept art, but we still don't know. Like it's still not technically official. It's weird.
If this movie isn't good, I'm gonna cry.
Yeah, but video games is gonna go kind of quick because I was gonna talk more about Resident Evil, but we talked a lot and went on a lot of tangents. I will talk about it a little bit though, but I want to start off with I've talked about Red Dead Redemption before. I love the game. Red Dead Redemption 2, one of my favorite games ever. I feel like I say that about every game. One of my favorite games.
I just gotta say, we've been going for basically 2 hours.
Yeah,
I do have a meeting
almost.
in like 9 minutes.
Okay,
Yeah.
I'm gonna finish this up real quick then.
Okay.
The actress for that plays Sadie Adler, Alex McKenna, says that she wants to be the she would love to be the like leading character in Red Dead Redemption 3. And I talked before about how Sadie, the way her story ended, left it very open-ended
Mm.
to the point to where you could easily see a series continuing with her as the main character. And she was such a cool character. She was probably my favorite character in Red Dead Redemption 2. Um, we'll talk about Resident Evil Village another time. You still haven't got it or played it at all yet.
I haven't. I'm broke. I'm trying to save money.
Yeah, I know you've likely been watching iBerleezy play it. So,
Oh yeah, I've been every time a new episode for Bleach comes out, I drop everything.
Kai's been playing it, so I might get her on one of these times. Well, them on one of these times to talk about it with us, because me and her talked about it. Me and them talked about it a lot. It was her opinion. There, I keep saying her and they, but I feel like we argued more than I expected us to when it came to Resident Evil 8. Not because they didn't like it, they loved it, but they, for whatever reason, felt like it was less action oriented than 7, which makes no sense. It was weird. We'll talk about it.
I saw Berleezy say it was because he heard, and I'm hearing this from a third-hand source.
Yeah, it's confirmed that they made it less scary because
Resident Evil 7 was too scary. Yeah. And as someone who played completely through Resi 7, grow some balls. Come on. That game was not that scary.
Here's the thing, though. There's a section of Resident Evil 8 that was the scariest thing I've ever played in any game.
Watching him play the autopsy section where you have to do the autopsy on the doll. Yeah. I'm glad I don't have the game because I would have stopped playing there. I don't think I would have ever picked it back up because I would have been.
Because I didn't get spoiled by anything. I just kept hearing rumors that the the House Beneviento was the scariest part of the game, and literally, like a couple hours later, it was 12 o'clock in the morning, so it was dark. It was night, and I was and it was the perfect atmosphere, and I was playing it and the whole time. I was just clenching my cheeks. It was so scary.
Yeah, I was sitting here watching like, oh my God. And Berlin kept saying, he kept turning around every time he went into a room, because you know how you have to like unlock the rooms? Yeah. Every time he unlocked a room, he would turn back around. He'd be like, please don't be gone. And he turned back around, the doll would finally be there. And then he left out of one room, came back, and the doll was gone after like the thing went, the screen went red. He was like, oh my God. I was sitting here like, oh no, oh my God. Like
Yeah. But we'll end it there. We'll talk more about it another time. Yeah, don't forget. Wait, am I skipping steps? Oh yeah, I'm Dijon. my social media will probably be beside me this time because the orientation is different this time. We'll find out later.
On my shoulder.
His will be on his shoulder. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to our channel if you want to see more Storytime content, and to click notification bells so that you're notified when we post.